Mike Babcock has stepped down as head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, which should really come to a surprise of nobody after all the allegations and the investigation has concluded with the NHLPA and as well as the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll be going over all the situation, everything we know, what's going on with the Columbus Blue Jackets in this video, but before we get into it, we noticed that 97% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're looking for a spot to get all your news from your favorite team and around the league, you're in the right spot. Make sure to stay a while, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the breaking news around the NHL. But like I said, this came out earlier from all of the insiders at this point. It started off with Elliot Friedman, said it was expected that Mike Babcock will resign as head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets this afternoon, which he did, and also followed up here from Frank Cervalli, saying sources say that Mike Babcock and the Columbus Blue Jackets are indeed parting ways. Investigation by the NHLPA left no path for Babcock to continue as a coach. Much of the last 24 to 48 hours was spent negotiating his exit. Strong message sent, treat all players with respect as you would in any proper workplace. We should, like I said, comes to a surprise of nobody, knowing Mike Babcock's past, what he's done, pretty much with every other team he's been in, but especially coming back into the NHL, you're kind of on probation. That's what we were talking about earlier. You're on the hot seat at this point. You do anything wrong, nobody's going to forget what you did in the past, and you're out as soon as possible. Nick, what do you think about the news? I'm sure we kind of expected at this point, not hearing anything about it. But what do you think? How do you think this is going to affect the Columbus Blue Jackets going forward and through the season?
Well, first of all, happy Mike Commodore Independence Day. I'm sure he's a happy guy today, as you've seen from his Twitter, probably all the tweets about that. That guy was on this, like, credit to Mike Commodore. He was on this for years before anybody even was. And then obviously Biz and them came out with it the other day, the news on that. So credit to those guys. They were right. They were right about the whole thing. Obviously, he wouldn't be resigning if they weren't. But you know, that kind of, it's kind of good to me, because you have like a lot of young guys coming up. As in like Adam Fantilli and like especially the younger, more influential minds, like basically like what happened in Toronto and all that stuff with the younger players and Babcock. Like, it's not a good environment for a younger player. You've got to be like a really strong-headed player to be able to deal with a coach like Mike Babcock. Not a lot of people can, and nobody should have to, because it's not proper workplace behavior. Never mind just like Mike Babcock, like, as a coach. Like, it's not not proper workplace behavior. It's a great thing that Mike Babcock was told to resign. We all know it was like a friendly fire. Let's just get that out of the way. He didn't resign under his own terms. He was told to resign or be fired. So I think it was kind of more of a courtesy thing. Just tell him, like, okay, you're resigning or we're firing you. Like, that's basically what happened. But I don't think there's a better thing that could have happened out of this whole situation for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, you got to take this as a win for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, obviously, Mike Babcock wasn't really the right choice. It was kind of a surprise when he got hired by the Blue Jackets, but this kind of ended up all good for the Blue Jackets, getting rid of him. And Mike Babcock said this on his way out. He said, upon reflection, it's become clear that continuing as a head coach at the Columbus Blue Jackets was going to be too much of a distraction. While I'm disappointed to not have had the opportunity to continue the work we've begun, I know it's in the best interest of the organization for me to step away at this time. I wish everyone in the organization well for the upcoming season. This kind of right here, obviously wasn't his choice, like you said, Nick. It was either you leave on your own terms, or we're going to make this public and make you look even worse than you already do. So, like you said as well, the old school coaching style, there's not very many old school players in the game anymore. So getting this to a young team like Columbus, his coaching style, I don't think it would work. Boone Jenner, we're going to have to talk about him as well in this. We don't really know. He kind of was on the side of Mike Babcock, and obviously you can't really, I would say, disagree with your coach, obviously. Like, he might not have done anything wrong with Boone Jenner himself, same as Johnny Gaudreau, but that's not speaking for all the other players. He said, specifically, his meeting was good. Both of them, they said it was fine, they shared their family pictures and everything, but in some instances, you obviously got to think it did go a certain way with different players, depending on who it might be. And we didn't hear from everybody's perspective, but that's what we heard from the leaders of this team.
As for old style coaching, that goes even further though. That's not even old style coaching. That's just straight up bullying. You can't do that. Yeah. Like, you can't even like you can't invade someone's privacy. You don't go up to, like, your boss doesn't come up to you, say if you're at your desk job, say for example, and your boss comes up to you and takes your phone and starts looking through it and start playing it on the screen in the front of the room. Like, that doesn't happen. You don't do that in your workplace. Nobody does that. And I've also got another tweet here from J Fresh Hockey. According to multiple sources, one of the most serious concerns was a meeting that occurred from team facilities that included several minutes, quote unquote, of looking through a phone. That was beyond the scope of what was initially understood to have occurred, and that was from Sportsnet. Jay Fresh just tweeted that out there. That's like, you're on probation already. What are you doing? Like he didn't possibly think he was going to get away with that. Like, with the way social media is now, especially, like, somebody is going to talk about that. And I mean, as for how it got out, somebody was eventually going to get to Biz. Somebody was going to get the news to Biz. Biz and Witt were going to get it out. And that's, they're a big advocate for the players. Like, they say, yeah, with the players, you're on your way out pretty soon. So that's just the way it is. You can't do that stuff anymore. Like, you can never could, but you can't do it now, especially. Babcock is that's a moron move by Babcock there.
No, you're spot on that. Like, Biz and Witt are probably the biggest hockey platform outside of, like, a mainstream media news outlet in the hockey world. Definitely, they are. There's no doubt about it. So they have a lot of impact on, the younger players of the game, and they play with a few older players. So they know, they've been around the game long enough to know what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's fake, So they hit it on the head since the beginning. I seen they were coming out today after this all came out. It's like, we told you so. You didn't believe us, but we told you so. I mean, now that that's all gone, Columbus is getting rid of the bad stuff. They have moved on and hired Pascal. I don't know if it's Vincent or Vincent. He's from Quebec, so it could be pronounced anyway. The associate coach has been named head coach and agreed to a 2-year term through 24-25. And any Columbus fan who's wondering about his head coaching capabilities, he's pretty good. He coached Manitoba Moose as head coach of that. He was the Jets' assistant coach, I believe, and was GM and head coach of the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles. So he knows his way around the game. He's been there for ages, and he's from Montreal. So you can't go wrong with someone who's been around the game from Montreal as a coach or whatever. So there should be no concerns about that. But Nick, do you think this will affect the Columbus Blue Jackets this season, where they've kind of been around the Mike Babcock, I guess, situation for a little while for the past summer, even though Pascal has been on this team, been coach for 2 years or so? But do you think it's going to be a major change, or do you think it's just going to be smooth cruising into this next season?
I think obviously he's going to have a different coaching style than Mike Babcock. Mike Babcock is, as you said, an old-style coach in that way, but I don't think Pascal is. But at the same time, I'm not really too familiar with his coaching style. But we'll have to see when the season starts. But as for affecting the Blue Jackets players, I don't know the extent of what was looked at, what was done. But I think they got rid of the distraction when they had to. Like, this was dealt with when it had to be. A lot of the young players maybe didn't have to deal with it for a full season, so it's not as bad as what it could have been. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably not going to affect them in too bad of a way. We hope so anyway, because that's a bright, young, promising team in Columbus, and hopefully everything works out the way it's supposed to, and this doesn't really affect much.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That was the one thing that Mike Babcock was right about, getting rid of the distraction for those players. Because, Pascal Vincent or Vincent, I don't know how to pronounce. I'm sorry how to pronounce the name. I'm not sure. But he's been around this team for a while, so, you got guys like Boone Jenner's been there for forever. Johnny Gaudreau, Patrick Laine, they've been around his system for a little while, knowing that. And the young players, they haven't been in any system in the NHL really for a super long time. So I don't think it's going to be a major change for them. But hopefully that distraction's out of the way now. They're carefree. They're ready for this upcoming season. Because I got to say, Columbus Blue Jackets, they don't look bad. I'll say it. I might be wrong by the end of the season, but the moves they made in the offseason, the roster they have now, they don't look horrible. So we'll see how this does affect the Columbus Blue Jackets throughout this season, if it does at all. There hasn't been too much on-ice stuff, I would assume, hasn't been done yet with Mike Babcock. So this might not even be in any of their minds right now. But that's all we have for this video. Let us know in the comments below what you think about this whole Mike Babcock situation. The final updates, I guess, we have on it for now. I don't believe anything will come out anytime soon related to what has been happening so far. But that's all we got. If you liked the video, make sure to like it. Also, make sure to subscribe, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you do want to see more content and not miss any other news around the NHL. So thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day, and see you later.